Okay. This is my first attempt, and I'm hoping to be able to do all of this in one go so that I don't have to go back and try to do any editing, because that is not something that I feel I am prepared to do. For any of this to make sense, I'll have to give a little bit of a background. So, in November of 2018, I had a migrainous infarct, which is a stroke caused by a migraine on the right side of my brain. And it is what they call a watershed stroke. So it was a very large area of my brain, but kind of superficial. But this doesn't mean that it didn't have pretty big impacts on me. So I'll do another video where I go over all that. But right now I want to talk about what living post-stroke for a young person means. I'm gonna cry. Hold it in. The last couple of days have been really, really hard. I'm a speech therapist, and primarily I work in the school systems. That is really challenging because as a speech therapist in a school system, you case manage 30, 50 kids, however many you have. Currently, I case manage around 30. And I feel like I do a pretty good job. But I'm learning a new system, a new computer system, a new state's policies. I'm learning a new process for a school district. So that has sort of piled up to be a lot. And there is not a lot of grace from people. And I think that's an issue that our society has not, we have grace for some people, but we really don't have grace for everyone who we don't know their backstory, right? So I essentially live with an invisible disease. It's not a disease, but people don't see it. People no longer see paralysis or issues with cognitive functioning and stuff. But the fact is, I do have a lot of issues with cognitive functioning. My attention is poor. My memory is very poor. So I have learned strategies to help me compensate for that. But when I'm in a highly stressful time period, or when a lot is happening all at once, it's really difficult to figure out how to use those strategies. So my experience is that there just isn't grace from people for people with deficits that they can't see. And because of that, maybe a couple of times a year, maybe a handful of times a year, I get really affected by that, by the lack of human grace and compassion from people. And it hits me that I am not the person I was. I don't function the way I did. And I never will again. I am a different person now. And those things can't be made up again. It's been 4 years since my stroke. I can make very small gains here and there, but essentially what is how it will always be for me. And when this time period happens where my deficits seem larger than normal to me, where I really start to think about it and think about how I'm not the same, it is a grieving period again. And that's something that I don't think a lot of people think about or talk about. That in this grieving period, I sort of relive the event, and think about how I will never get the person back that I used to be. That person is gone. And there's nothing I can do about that. I think there's a lack of people acknowledging and talking about saying goodbye to who you were at a young age. I think everybody who lives long enough will experience that at some point. Not being able to do things you used to do, and things like that. But it is devastating to be a young person and know that there's not really anyone around you who knows what that feels like. To say goodbye to your former self and try to move on. And it's not something that is really accepted in our society, that, you know, the expectation is, oh, you look like you're 100% better. You should be 100% better. And then people set very high standards for you. When the fact is, with any sort of invisible illness or disease or deficit, you're not 100%. You might look like it on the outside, but you're not. And most days, people like me function with that pretty well. And you wouldn't know. But there are some days where it really hits you that you're letting go of yourself, and you're letting go of the person that you were, and saying goodbye to that person. It feels like losing a loved one. But maybe somehow deeper, because it's you. It's like you're saying goodbye to, it's like you've died, like part of you has died. And then you try to move forward. But there are not enough people in the world who keep in mind that everybody is going through stuff. Everybody. And we can't see it. And we need to apply compassion and grace for people. Everybody we come in contact with all the time. Because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know if they've lost a loved one, if they've lost a job. We don't know. And we need to be able to approach our fellow human beings with love and compassion and grace, and leave space for people to mess up, and not hold it against them. I think that's pretty much what I wanted to say. Be aware of the people you interact with, and try to love people and show them compassion and grace, because you don't know what they're going through on a daily basis, or maybe just in that moment. Okay, bye.